So my name is Joshua Lewis, and I did my literature review on the effects of active and involved parenting on resilience in youth. So to start, I'm just going to talk about the importance. Why is parenting important? Why does it need attention? Why does it potentially need to be changed? All these questions are going to be answered in this slide. So first off, 70% of parents say that parenting is their greatest challenge. This is notable because it shows that a lot of parents are still struggling with parenting. Not that many parents think that they have it down to a science. Not that many parents think that parenting is easy. So for growth areas, and parents even reflect that trend when they're not entirely confident in their ability to parent. Additionally, 90% of parents say they rely on conventional wisdom for parenting. So for those of you that don't know, conventional wisdom is simply doing things how they've been done in order to achieve the same results. It's essentially from family to family in order to just kind of keep the culture going, keep the tradition going, keep the ball rolling. Lots of research illustrates that supporting role in parenting does actually augment youth resilience and lowers anxiety. There's just not a whole lot of awareness for these studies, it seems. I think that if there was a whole lot of awareness for these studies, 90% of parents wouldn't say that they rely on conventional wisdom. They would rely on empirical, fact-based research that actually supports their parenting methods and the outcomes that they support. Shift towards empirically based parenting, especially in the wake of mounting challenges if kids are to succeed and not flounder. Events like COVID-19, increased drug use and alcohol abuse among adolescents, especially in recent years, that illustrate a need for empirically based parenting. We continue to rely on conventional wisdom on what has traditionally worked or even traditionally hasn't worked in the past, then we're overlooking key changes that could be made that could effectively alter the course of these children's lives for the better. First off is the positive problem-solving skills that supportive parenting can evoke. Warm parenting environment was heavily correlated with positive problem-solving ability. This study means that it didn't really warm parenting environment, but was assumed, and also from the detailed view of the literature, that this meant parents that generally support parent households. Family meal times was mentioned as part of to a warm parent. Additionally, spiritual programs with parents led to low and less response. This shows that programs that are meant to kids develop positive problem-solving skills are done best when they're accompanied with a parent. The parent is there for a supportive role, and this helps the problem skills fit better and click better with the youth more than if they did it in isolation, because they wouldn't really have that social network that they need to be supported. Overall, it's also found that engagement can lead to lifelong emotional to past. A study that kindergartners who were subject to a lot of parents that really wanted to control their lives and actually stifled their ability to regulate emotionally in the future, which meant that even though the parents were really involved, their over-involvement wasn't producing any sort of resilience in the long term. Only the goal of a lot of parents is to help your kids become independent individuals, free-thinking, autonomous people that can think for themselves, act for themselves, and understand the consequences of their actions. Really just be independent, just be free, and over-engagement did not lead to any of these. So it actually decreased the positive problem-solving skills that come from finding the sweet spot in the parenting continuum. There's also a power of joint collaboration with parents. So the most positive predictor of paternal involvement in a kid's relationship was the healthiness of that father's relationship with their mother. This shows that I think everyone wants paternal involvement. Everyone wants their dad to be present and to be actively engaged in their lives. And the best predictor of if they were was the relationship with the mother, which shows that the marriage dyad is really important in contributing to the betterment of the kids. Also, the mere presence of two parents in the household led to a host of positive outcomes, including test scores, mental health. I think GPA was another one. This shows that two-parent households really do have advantages over one-parent households. This wasn't an experimental study, so it's hard to say if these have a causative impact, but just the availability of two parents to help with schoolwork, to provide resources for the kids, to provide supervision. Those are all possible theories that explain why two-parent households have such benefits. Recognition of the parents from the child also led to more willing compliance and a beneficial child-parent dyad. When the kids didn't recognize the authority that their parents had, they were often disrespecting their parents, rebelling, which we will talk more about on the next slide. Another advantage of parents in creating resilience in their kids is the counter to helplessness that these parents can have. Authoritarian parenting and over-involvement can lead to a decrease in resilience, actually, which is funny because the goal of authoritarian parenting is to really control your kid and make them exactly the way you want to, like mold them down to every single attribute that you desire them to have. And this actually has a negative response in building those desirable attributes, because they won't do it unless they're pressured, and they'll often implode outside of parental situations. These styles of parenting, the authoritarian and the over-involvement, also increase rebellion and decrease interaction between parents. The kid won't listen to what the parent has to say, and the kid will be less likely to even interact or communicate with the parent, because they know that they're just going to get the parent's point of view. There's not going to be a whole lot of discourse on the matter. It's just going to be the parent trying to oppress the kid and make them do exactly what they want to do. This can lead to acting out, refusal to get help, permeation of trauma. It can lead to a lot of negative cycles because the kid doesn't want to talk. The kid overreacts, rebels, doesn't want to talk to the parent, which means they don't get help, which means that all these negative patterns and behaviors just become reinforced over time. The opposing argument is that genetics and innate differences are largely responsible for resilience in kids. So first off, the evidence does exist that genetics and innate differences between individuals are a driver. Genetics were a moderate predictor of resilience after controlling for environment in one study. And there was also a twin study done using Likert scales where they rated their own resilience. And it was found that they were very similar even when in different environments. So twins that were adopted into one family still demonstrated a pretty similar amount of resilience to twins that were adopted in another family. It was a pretty small study, but twin studies are often used like this to try to compare the whole nature versus nurture dichotomy. However, this is a myopic or short-sighted outlook for a few reasons. One, there is one study that demonstrated that genetics were a reason for stress response cultivation, but not for alteration, meaning that genetics were largely responsible for how people are predisposed to act. That doesn't mean that they were stuck in their ways. That doesn't mean that they couldn't be changed. So a lot of times, even though people that are genetically similar might have a predisposition to act in a certain way or respond in a certain way, it's not stagnant. It doesn't have to be that way, and things can be done, and that's where parenting comes in. Additionally, another study kind of questioned the legitimacy of some of the other studies. It showed that genetics were only linked to vulnerability and not resilience, which I thought was noteworthy. Additionally, this is a little bit more philosophical, but the philosophical legitimacy of arguing for genetic differences is a little bit questionable. Ultimately, we're trying to identify what the factors are and change the factors that we can change. Genetics and innate differences, at least at this point, there hasn't been a specific gene, an individual gene linked to resilience, which means that honestly, we're kind of just wasting our time talking about it because it doesn't have any tangible improvements for kids until we figure out exactly which genes are responsible and see if we can even alter those. It's just not worth talking about because there's no return on investment. In conclusion, parental factors play an important role in resilience, and it's necessary to recognize these so that kids can be at their best throughout adolescence and also in adulthood. Genetics may factor in, but they're just not crucial. They're not the main driver, and they're not worth wasting our time analyzing when we have clear-cut ways that we can improve children's resilience in other ways. Parental involvement and warm parenting is connected to lower anxiety and higher resilience in adulthood. Conventional wisdom isn't the solution. This just perpetuates traditional norms that may or may not be helpful. Parenting in an empirical manner with regards to the studies that we've talked about in the ways that you can actively contribute to your child's cultivation of resilience will be the mechanism by which we improve outcomes for many children around the world, regardless of the circumstances that they're born into, regardless of the environments they're present into, and regardless of the obstacles that they may face in wake of this development. These are my references.